Okay, it looks like we are just about going live here tonight on a Monday evening. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to give people just a minute or two to get in here. We are going live today on Zoom and YouTube, which is a new thing for us to do. So we are just trying it out and seeing what happens. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. And we're going to get started in just a minute or so. Just making sure I have everything set up so I can see you all. If you can hear me all right, if you could just say hello in the Zoom chat area, that would be great. You can tell me where you're coming in from, just to know that everybody is out there and able to hear me all right. And let me open up the Q&A here. Got lots of windows. Hello. Oh, good. It looks like it's working. Hello from Los Angeles, Tennessee, North Carolina, all over the place. Hello from just north of Boston, Massachusetts on my side. We have Dallas, Texas. I lived there for 5 years. Hello, Dallas. Paul from Boston. Hello, Miami. Good. All right. South Dakota, Seattle, Colorado. Hope you're hanging in there. I know there is snow and fire going on all at the same time. Hope you're doing well and staying safe. Somebody is coming in from Japan. Hello. Wonderful. And trying to figure out what time. It's probably, I would say good morning, I suppose. It's probably morning there. Charlotte, North Carolina. I've got family there. New Jersey. I also lived there for a year. I love seeing these things pop up. Okay. Well, it looks like the chat is working. It looks like we've hit the top of the hour. So let's go ahead and dive in. Welcome, everyone. My name is Bree Reynolds. I'm the Career Development Manager at FlexJobs, and today is our regular Monday evening Career Coach Q&A. So these are chats that we do every Monday. We also do them Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. So if you haven't checked those out already, feel free. And they are designed to support FlexJobs members by giving you a chance to ask questions of a career coach and hopefully get some insights into your job search, your resumes, cover letters, interviewing, how to put yourself out there, branding, LinkedIn, all sorts of fun stuff. And so this is a thing that we do for FlexJobs members exclusively. Now, today we are streaming this to YouTube. We're actually opening this up to the public. This is very unusual for these Q&As. Usually they're members only, but we wanted to give this a try and just see how it works and what happens. So a couple housekeeping notes before we get started. This is a 30-minute Q&A, so we'll be going for about 30 minutes today. If you have a question, you can put it into the Q&A section on your Zoom control panel, or if you are tuning in from YouTube, I believe you can enter your question as a comment on this video, and I'll be able to see those as well. So I'll be checking that out, making sure I'm seeing any comments that are coming in. So if you're on Zoom, please put your questions in the Q&A section. If you have advice or you want more information. Oh, and hello, Richard and Melrose. I feel like this is great. I get to see you all the time now. Melrose is just down the street from me for anybody who's not familiar. And some of you might be on to this now. The past few events that we've had, I've had my neighbor down the road on this call. So if you have anything to add or advice to give or resources to offer, you can put that in the chat area. And that way you can share your information with other folks. They can see what you're recommending. I will be saving any links or resources or things that I mention, and everything will get sent to you in an email later this week. So you'll have a link to view the recording of this event and any of the resources that I mention or link to during the event. That will all be included in the email this week as well. So you can go ahead. I know a few people have started putting in their questions already. That's great. You can put some more questions in there if you would like. And yes, this replay will be available on YouTube as well. We're going to keep it up there. And since this is our first one, we'll just see how it goes and how it works. So the first thing I wanted to touch on is not a question, but I thought it would be helpful. We have an upcoming event tomorrow. I'm in my FlexJobs account here. Hopefully you can see that. And I'm going to the events section. And tomorrow we have a cover letter webinar. So cover letters are something that I really like to talk about. I think career coaches probably like to talk about them, and job seekers mostly can't stand them. But tomorrow we're doing a cover letter webinar on best practices for cover letters for remote jobs in particular. So hopefully you'll check that out. You can register for that at the events section on FlexJobs, and I will also put the link here in the notes. Or in the chat area, excuse me, of Zoom. So feel free to be on the lookout for that. And let me just make sure. Can you guys see my screen where that Zoom registration link is to the cover letters webinar? Just want to make sure that that's showing up. My Yes. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. My glowing box around the screen that's being shared disappeared, and I wasn't sure if that meant you couldn't see it anymore. So this is happening tomorrow. Even if you can't attend the live event, if you register for this, you'll receive a link to view the recording of the webinar afterwards. So I highly recommend that. Should be a helpful event to get those cover letters out there and also have some samples of cover letters and ideas for what you can write in your own cover letter. Okay, so let's dive into the questions and answers. You can also give a thumbs up to any questions that you see that you would like the answer to as well. And that just helps me know what is especially popular. Okay, so our first question is, I just joined today and I'm just updating the profile on the site. So your FlexJobs profile. Could you address how, if needed, should we customize our resume profile on the FlexJobs site compared to our resume for a full-time position? This is a great question. So when you first join FlexJobs, you are prompted in a number of different ways to create a resume profile. You will see if you've ever created one before, they'll be listed here in your current resume profiles. This is all under the My Dashboard section and then your resume profiles. So I have mine here that I've created before. Really, there are a few key pieces here. The first thing is the profile name. So I'm just going to type in test name. This is the name that pops up and helps you remember which profile is which. If you have a previous profile, it's going to ask you, do you want to create a new one? You can click yes. And you really don't have to fill out too much in here. I would spend most of your time on a few different sections. My job search basics is one of the sections I would definitely recommend filling out. That includes the job categories that you're interested in, the job types that you're interested in, your career level, your education level. And then the summary is also a required area. The summary can be pretty much the same as a general summary that you would have on your resume. So you want to make sure that it is general enough that employers understand all the things that you have to offer. It's very similar to what you would have on your LinkedIn profile. And those are kind of the required things. The other thing I would go to is the schedule and flexibility area. So if you can click edit in here, this helps you type in the schedules that you're interested in, if you're interested in occasional or seasonal work, or if you're strictly, full-time regular work. And then remote work, you can select any 100% during the pandemic, partial, optional. These sections, the schedule and flexibility and this My Job Search Basics, the reason that we want you to fill that out specifically is because that is what triggers the new jobs of interest to you. So if you fill out those sections with job category, job types, it's going to look at the new incoming jobs every day and send you an email update with any new jobs of interest that match your profile. So that's why it's really important. Other than that, and the summary, you don't have to fill out that much. So don't spend too much time on this because you want to make sure you're customizing the resumes that you're sending. You can also just import your LinkedIn profile. So if you're feeling pretty good about what your LinkedIn profile looks like, and it's fairly general, it's not too specific to one particular job or anything like that, you can import all of this information, your summary, your experience. It will all get populated from LinkedIn, which is a really handy way to fill out this profile. But otherwise, I would just focus on the summary, and you can also upload a copy of your resume. So that comes, let's see, that is, attach your resume, silly, right there, right in front of me. So you can attach your resume there. I would recommend attaching your resume if you're going to do one or the other. That just helps employers to get your full document. If your resume and your LinkedIn look pretty much the same, then you can import your LinkedIn profile, and that's easy enough. So don't spend too much time. Definitely fill out My Job Search Basics and the summary area. And then your test name, you want to make sure your resume profile name, you want to be more creative than this. So you want to have this be a pretty good overview of the few things that you're looking for. So you could say, experienced customer service agent, gifted in turning around unhappy clients. That's a great profile title. Something simple like that. Okay, so that's your resume profile on FlexJobs. There's also a video that will walk you through this when you're first setting one up, so you can check out that video too for more tips. Okay, let's go to the next question. How much does title matter? I have a project coordinator job title, but the responsibilities of a manager or senior level manager. Oh, isn't that frustrating? How do I address that as I look for apply to senior manager types of positions? Okay, this is a great question. What I would recommend is that you do both on your resume. So the title is important. It's important for you to have your official title on your resume, because if an employer is checking references and they call your current employer or past employer and ask about your employment, basically that employer who's giving the reference is only going to verify your job title and your dates of employment. Those are kind of the two main things that employers tend to go by. They don't usually give more information than that. If the job title doesn't match the one that you're telling your potential future employers, that's where the problem lies. So you want to have your real official job title on your resume, but you can add other titles that better describe exactly what you do. So I have some sample resumes here, and I would recommend where this one is a program director. So if this person, let's say, was project coordinator, which the questioner has as their current title, I would put project coordinator and then in parentheses or with a dash, so it's kind of separated a little bit, put something like senior project manager or project manager, whatever you think is really the most appropriate. And that tells employers, you could also put that in as one of your top lines on your bullets, performed the duties of a senior project manager, including X, Y, and Z. So you can be very honest about what your actual duties were and what other job titles may be more appropriate, as long as you're keeping your official job title on there, just so there's no confusion if they're checking references. Hopefully that helps. I filled out my profile, but I get jobs about HR coordinator, director, etc. I want to focus on learning and development coordinator. How can I do this? Okay, this is a great question because yes, when you fill out your profile, it's only going to tell you jobs based on some basic information. So what I would recommend if you're looking for something very specific or you have, a couple different job titles in mind, go to the advanced search page, which is always up here in the right corner. Enter those keywords. So in this case, it is learning and development coordinator. And it's going to find other jobs that have these words in there as well. So it's not always going to be the perfect search, but it'll get you pretty close. You always want to have your location. So I'll just put in mine for now. And this is important, even if you're looking for, sometimes you need the comma or else it doesn't, there we go. Even if you're looking for remote jobs, it's really important to have your location in here. So make sure you're putting that in there. And then you can put in whatever other categories you want here. So let's say remote work level 100%, because that seems to be what most people are looking for these days. You click search jobs, it's going to run this search. You can refine it up here. So you can add other filters, make sure that everything is, let's say you want career level, let's go with just experienced because we're finding too many senior level positions or something like that. So you can refine it a little more. Once you kind of like the results that you're seeing and you feel like these are in line with what the jobs that you actually want to apply for, you can click Save Search. You're going to give your search a name. So I'm going to call this Learning and Development Coordinator. I realize I spelled learning wrong, but we'll go with it. And then click Save. This is going to save these search parameters exactly as you have them. And then to find that and run it again under, I want to say Find Jobs, but let's see. No, under My Job Search Activity, that's what it is. You're going to go under Saved Searches. So My Job Search Activity, Saved Searches, and you'll see any saved searches that you have here, which you scroll down, and this is the one I just put in with the misspelled learning, Learning and Development Coordinator, and I've got it to email me notifications, which is automatic, but you can change that. If you don't want to receive notifications, you simply exit out. I believe you can also go to your email, I think it's account details, and you can set your email parameters there as well. But this is going to email you notifications whenever a new job gets posted with those search parameters. So that's really the best way to get notified of only the types of jobs that you really want to be looking for on the site. And you can always delete these. You can create new ones. I think it's unlimited. You can really create as many saved searches as you want. So you can get really particular about the different searches that you're doing and then make sure that those get emailed to you. Okay, next question. And let's see. Good. We're doing good on time. Good. Thank you for hosting this event. You're welcome. I have prior work experience as a human capital government consultant, but I'm looking to transition to a 100% remote human resources employee relations position. What tips would you recommend in making my resume more appealing to employers if I don't have remote or a lot of relevant work experience? Okay, so let's tackle the remote piece of this first. If you don't have any previous remote experience, what I would ask you to do is think about any times that you worked away from other people. So even if you were in an office, if you worked with people who worked in a different office, if you worked a lot over email and phone and document sharing, document collaboration, video conferences, web conferences, whatever it might be. If you did a lot of that where you were apart from other people, but you were collaborating with them, you want to highlight that on your resume. So you would call that distributed work experience, or partially remote experience is probably a good way to say that too. But essentially you were working away from others. You were collaborating mostly in a digital or remote environment. So you can use that as experience. the skills that it takes to work remotely can also be highlighted, and you can develop those skills in a completely in-office, in-person job. Those are skills like communication skills, especially written and verbal communication skills over things like email, web conferencing, video conferencing, phone calls, online chat, those types of communication where it's all digital and you're using some kind of program to really communicate well with people. That's one big skill. So have that on your resume, your LinkedIn profiles. I would actually have something like a remote work skills section, a little remote work skills list. So even though you don't have remote experience, you're drawing the employer's attention to the skills that you have that would make you a good remote worker. So you'd have communication skills, time management, task management, the ability to focus, being self-managed or independent in your work, being able to prioritize and be productive, and being proactive in your communication, being able to speak up, to ask questions, to help other people, to be collaborative and involved, even from a distance. Those are all skills that you want to have listed, even if you have no actual remote experience. The other type of experience that you can highlight is if you've worked across time zones with people. So of course, you're going to be working at a distance if you're working across time zones. But if you worked in one city and they were based in a completely different city or a different country, those are things that you want to highlight in the job descriptions on your resume. And even in that summary section at the top, you can say X number of years experience working with multiple teams across 4 different time zones or whatever it might be. So try to summarize that as best you can. And you could do estimates too. So even if you work from home occasionally, you could say worked from home occasionally, worked remotely occasionally as needed, those sorts of things. So I would focus on that for the remote experience. And then tips for making your resume more appealing to employers. If you don't have a lot of relevant work experience, you go back to those transferable skills. So I was just talking about the transferable skills for remote work. But looking at your position in human capital government consulting, you could take the skills that you used in that job and see how do those translate into human resources, employee relations. How are the skills that you used in those jobs relevant to the skills that you want to be using, the skills that are needed in the jobs that you're going to, and really focus in on that. And anything where you had any experience that even remotely, no pun intended, connects to the job that you're going to, you want to make sure that you are talking that way. One really good thing you can do is read a bunch of different job descriptions, get to understand how employers talk about this new field that you're entering into, what skills are they always asking for, what tasks and responsibilities, and then figure out ways that you've kind of done that. Because usually if you're turning specifically to this career field, there's something there that interests you and there's some reason that you think you can do that job. So what are the things you think you can do in that new job? What do you feel confident in? What do you feel like you could definitely do? And how is it similar to any work that you've done? And then you can actually tell that story in the bullets of your job descriptions as well. So hopefully that helps. Let's go on to the next question. And I am just seeing some questions here. Let's see. A question actually came in about career coaching specifically. So yes, the FlexJobs career coaching, FlexJobs has a career coaching program where we offer these free Q&As for all FlexJobs members. It's included in your membership. And then we do have one-on-one services that are an additional cost, but they're very much reduced from what you would pay for like a private career counselor or a private resume writer. So we offer individual career coaching sessions. We offer resume writing, where we take an existing resume and we really update it and overhaul it to give you a fresh document specifically for remote jobs or flexible jobs, whatever you're looking for. And then we do have a bundle. So this person is asking for new members, is there a bundle for career coach and resume review as far as the price? Yes, there is a bundle, and I'll pull up the link here and put that in the chat. And we have a wonderful team. We're up to 8 coaches, and myself, I oversee the team, but most of the coaches do the individual work, and they're just phenomenal. I really enjoy working with them, and you'll see them on these Q&As also, so you can kind of get to know them this way. Okay, so good question. Thank you. Do employers reach out to members if you're posting a resume, or is it really for ease of applying to jobs on the site? It's more the latter. So when you're on FlexJobs, most of the time you're going to be seeking out the jobs and applying to the jobs. Some employers, it's very few compared to the overall pool of employers that we have. Some employers will search for resumes on FlexJobs. So it's important to have at least the basics of your profile filled out. But for the most part, it'll be you applying to the jobs instead of the employer coming to seek you out on FlexJobs, if that makes sense. So yes, you're going to be applying for most of those jobs. And it makes it easier if you have your resume already uploaded. Or your profile filled out. Okay, so let's go back over to the questions area here. How do employers feel about someone applying to a job that offered a much higher pay rate than what the person has earned in the past? How do you properly justify why you feel you're worth it? Okay, there's a couple things that come to mind. First is in some states now, it is actually not legal to inquire about a person's previous pay rates. So it doesn't always come into play. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't, but employers won't always know what you used to be making. So sometimes they cannot ask you that. So it's important to, wherever you live in the United States or abroad, outside of the US, to check the laws for your particular location and just see if that is something, because it's one of those laws or things that is popping up in more states, and employers are taking it seriously because it is kind of in the news. It's sort of a big deal that they can't be asking this. Not to say that every employer is going to act perfectly around that. We know for sure that sometimes those illegal questions get through, but in some states, they're not allowed to ask you. So when you're applying to a job that offers a much higher pay rate, really what the employer want to know is they don't know what you used to make unless they're specifically asking you. If there's any way to get around that question and to put it off, if you can leave it blank, if they're not requiring the answer, or if you can put in a range and you can really expand that range, if there's some way to get past that question and move on to actually being able to talk to the employer, that's what you want to do. I wouldn't go ahead and just volunteer that information unless you're really required to by the employer. And so what you want to really be doing is positioning yourself as somebody who deserves that higher pay. Talk about the work that you've done, even if you were, let's say, underpaid, because a lot of times people do work in one job or one company for a long time, and their salary or their rate of pay does not keep up with what the market value is for that job. So you go and apply for that same job in a different company, and that's why you get sometimes a 20% or 30% increase in your salary when you switch jobs, is because your salary at your previous employer had not kept pace. So if you can really focus on your resume, describing the work that you've been doing in terms of the value that you provide, the level of work that you're doing, the consistency, the productivity, the quality of the work that you do, and really talking about the results of that work. Who do you help? What is saved in terms of time or money? Who do you support? Who is able to live their life better or do their own better job because of the job that you did? What are some processes you've put in place that have helped? What are processes you've retooled? All of those sorts of things. You really want to talk about your accomplishments and your abilities instead of just a task list, because that is what's going to make you sound less valuable. So the more you can talk about your accomplishments, the things that you have made better as a result of your work, the more valuable you'll be seen by employers when you're applying. And then research your fair market value and know what the range is you're really targeting. Because when you can answer that question confidently, what is your required salary? What salary range are you interested in? Answer that confidently, back it up with the accomplishments and the tasks that you've done, or excuse me, not the tasks, the accomplishments and the value that you've provided in your previous positions. And that's a really winning combination. Okay, we have time for a few more questions here. And how do employers feel about someone applying to a job that offers a much, I just answered this one, so sorry. Okay, next one. Can you explain, what I think I might have eliminated a question by accident. No, maybe not. Nope, it looks good. Okay, can you explain the different types of work environment choices such as flexible, alternative, etc.? Great question. So there's a few different listed here on the advanced search page. You can see all the different types of work that we talk about. So FlexJobs is for posting all sorts of flexible jobs, mostly remote jobs on our site, but we also have things like flexible schedules, alternative schedules, part-time jobs, freelance jobs. So this person asked specifically about flex versus alternative. A flexible schedule means that the employer has said that there are not necessarily set hours, or that the hours are flexible based on your needs, so that you could potentially shift your hours from one day to the next or 1 week to the next. So it's kind of a fluid, flexible schedule. An alternative schedule, which you'll find under work schedule, there's part-time, flexible, alternative. Alternative means that you are working pretty much a set schedule. There are certain hours you're going to be required to work, but it's outside of the traditional 9 to 5 office schedule. So we consider that a potentially great flexible option for some people because it really fits their needs and whatever's going on in your personal life. Part-time versus full-time. Full-time is usually somewhere around between 30 and 40 hours a week. It depends on the state that the employer is in, the state that you're in, and how the employer kind of defines that and what the employment laws are there. But it's somewhere around 30 to 40 hours per week. Part-time can be anywhere below that. So it can be anything under 40 hours per week. Usually it's 30 hours or fewer, but it really, again, depends on location because there are different employment laws in each state and in each country. But that's the kind of the delineation there. With part-time, sometimes people think that part-time and half-time are the same. So part-time equals 20 hours per week versus a 40-hour full-time. That's not true. A half-time schedule is 20 hours specifically, usually. Part-time can be anything from, say, 5 hours a week, 15 hours a week, 17 and a half hours a week. It really depends on what the employer defines as part-time for that one job. And they may have a different version of part-time for every part-time job they are posting. So it's really important to pay attention to the details in the job description for those numbers. Let's see, other types of flexibility. Oh yeah, freelance versus employee. An employee is somebody who is working for one company who is receiving a paycheck from that company, and the company is responsible for taking out taxes from that paycheck, essentially Social Security taxes, employment taxes, that all of those things where your paycheck is your take-home pay, but you're not paying any of those taxes. Your employer is paying them for you. A freelancer is an independent contractor. You're essentially self-employed. You have a client who is an employer who is giving you work to do, but you are responsible for your tax and employment, employment tax payments. Your, if you have to register as, an LLC or something like that, if you have to be licensed, there are lots of different things that you as a freelancer would be responsible for. And again, the laws are different in pretty much every state for those. So it's really important to check that out wherever you are. Temporary could be either. We have some temporary freelance positions, some temporary employee positions. You might be an employee of a temporary agency where they're hiring people to go work for a variety of employers, or you may be a temporary employee of one specific employer. So again, the job listings are really going to be critical to figuring out exactly what each employer means by temporary or part-time or alternative schedule, that sort of thing. Seasonal, since we are getting into the hiring season for seasonal jobs, seasonal is usually the holiday season. We also see seasonal jobs for the accounting and tax season here in the US. So that is sort of the winter and spring of the year. And then we sometimes see seasonal jobs that are summer seasonal jobs. But most of what we're doing, especially right now, is seasonal hiring for holiday hiring. So that's important to know too. All right, looks like we probably have time for just a couple more questions here. Since my last job title was basically Jack of all trades, master of none, I'm sure you're not alone. Oops, I lost. There we go. Can I make a job title that corresponds to what I'm looking for? Yes. So kind of going back to what I had said about job titles before, you can have your job title be whatever your official job title was, and then add in the other job titles, and you can change them as needed for the different jobs that you're applying for. So if you're applying for an administrative assistant position and a bookkeeping position, you might have on that resume Jack of all trades - bookkeeping for your bookkeeping applications, and then Jack of all trades - administrative assistant for your administrative assistant applications. And that way you've got your official title, but you also have the specific one that is more targeted towards the exact job that you're applying for now. All right. Looks like we answered that. Oh, okay. I've been a stay-at-home mom, but also self-employed. How do I find a new career with what I already know, but to use it in a different way? This is a great question. So one of the things that we recommend is taking a look at, and I'm going to bring up the article here. We have what we call our 4-step system. You can see I search it a lot because it's like my top search term. It is how to choose a new career. This walks you through 4 steps, and it takes a little while. 4 steps is a little bit misleading because it takes probably a good couple hours to go through this. You can do it over time. You don't have to sit down and do it all at once. But even if you have an idea of what you used to do that you would like to do, but in a different way, this can help you see what the exact possibilities would be for you. So I am going to put that here in the chat. For choosing a You can see it there. And that should help you at least sort of pinpoint where you might like to go next. There are some different things that you can go through, including getting to know your motivations for working, because that's a big piece of it, making sure that you're really meeting your needs when you're going to work, whatever those needs might be. Could be monetary, could be fulfillment, could be a little of both. Making a list of all the job and career possibilities. We go through, there are some different lists that you can go through, and assessments. So we have assessments down here based on skills, interests, and personality that will actually generate some lists of jobs. And then it's really the research phase. You want to research your new ideas, really get to know what each of these jobs is. If you can do informational interviews, we definitely recommend doing those once you've got some job areas narrowed down. And then evaluate and focusing to figure out exactly the couple or however many you want to pursue, which could be 1, it could be 3. It's different for everybody. Okay, and it looks like, actually we have 1 minute left. Let's see if we can sneak one in here. Should you upload a designed resume or a plainer one that would go through applicant tracking systems? Definitely, anytime you're uploading a resume. So let's say you're going to, I'll just go to any job listing we have here. Let's say you're going to go and apply for a job. You click apply. A lot of times you'll be brought specifically to the company's page. Lots of pop-ups on this page, always fun. When you are uploading your resume, so you're applying for this job, you're adding you're attaching it, you're uploading it to the system, anything like this, you always want to use a plain document. If you have a really nicely designed resume that has a lot of formatting, it is not going to play well with this type of upload system. So we recommend a very plain document, and that's when we write resumes for people, that's what we focus on. We design them really nicely, but we only use formatting elements that we know can go through an applicant tracking system and not mess up your data. So your data is still portrayed to the whoever, the computer that's scanning it, and then the person who's going to see it afterwards in the way that you want them to see it. So if you're uploading it, always upload a plain document. And we recommend when you're uploading that you actually use a Microsoft Word document because PDFs can add a whole bunch of formatting that sometimes does not work well with applicant tracking systems. So for uploading, plain document and a Word document if possible. If you're emailing your resume to someone, to a specific person, then you can do kind of a nicely formatted or designed or interesting kind of resume that has elements that would not play well with an applicant tracking system. And so you would want to do that as a PDF. So it's a different type of document for emailing it to individual people. If you're emailing it to a person, you can do a designed resume. You can also do a plain resume. I really recommend the plain, simple, classic, nice looking resumes that are clean, easy to read. Those are good for applicant tracking systems and for human beings. It's very easy for them to read through them and to pick up the information that they need. But if you're going to email it to an individual, you want to do it as a PDF because then they will see it exactly as you mean them to see it. If you're uploading it, you want to do it as a Word document because then your applicant tracking system will be able to read it easier. It's always confusing, and the rules on that are constantly changing, which is why we are always researching what exactly do applicant tracking systems want, what do recruiters want. I'm just going to check in with YouTube. I don't believe that we have any more questions coming in here that I can see. Nope. But for anybody who tuned in on YouTube, thank you very much for being here. So, and let me see, I did show this example of resumes. I'm going to put the resume samples in here as well, and I'll include these in the email recap. So, okay, so thank you all very much for being here today. We're kind of at the end of our time, but really great questions. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for asking your questions and for hanging out on a Monday evening. I hope you all are walking away with something here that you can use in your job search. And later, an email will be sent to you later this week that includes the links that I shared and a link to view the recording of this Q&A. So thank you very much. Wonderful. Everybody saying thank you. You're very welcome. Happy to do this. And best of luck in your job search. Have a good evening or a good day if you are around the world and you're just starting your day. Have a good one. All right. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you soon.